Chapter 283, The World of Geniuses You Don't Understand. I seem to have offended someone. Suyu thought as he walked. This time, he must have offended Chen-Chi. Chen-Chi saying that Suyu had ruined his future was actually incorrect. Or perhaps Hu Wensheng had ruined his future. Hu Wensheng was too confident. Of course, the items were collected by Hu Wensheng. Suyu guessed that Hu Wensheng should have given out the merit points himself, so it should not be considered that Hu Wensheng had ruined his future. It could only be said that most of the time, cultivation also depended on luck. Chen-Chi wanted to buy it back. If it was Suyu might have the same idea, but if he couldn't buy it back, he would vent his anger on Suyu. Suyu felt that it wasn't right. If it were me. Suyu thought for a moment and suddenly said, if it were me, I would hold my breath and kill Baifeng later. In the end, he should have made trouble for Baifeng. If old Bai hadn't gone to challenge Hu Wensheng, this matter wouldn't have happened. Moreover, his teacher, Hu Wensheng, had lost face. He had lost the essence blood used for foundation establishment. Who else would he look for if not Baifeng? Bullying the weak and fearing the strong. It's human nature. Suyu didn't look down on the other party. It was obvious that he couldn't defeat Baifeng. Of course, he would find a soft persimmon to pinch. Knowing that he wasn't a match for Baifeng, he had to seek revenge. That Chen-Chi must have really cultivated to the point of stupidity. It's not a big deal. The path of cultivation has always offended people. Suyu was used to it. Back in the Southern Element Academy, Lu Wenyan had regarded him highly. There were many students in the academy who were dissatisfied, jealous, and envious. He still remembered that Zhou Chong had said sour words and had been instigated by Chen Hao to beat him up a few times. Suyu was not a magnanimous person. He would not grit his teeth and pretend to be pure just because others were jealous. He would not go to Lu Wenyan's place. On the contrary, he had been extremely respectful to Lu Wenyan all these years. It was also a little like watching others serve the dishes. Just as he was thinking, another person jumped out from beside him. Suyu, who did I offend? Are you pretending to be a ghost? Suyu cursed. When he saw Xia Huyo, he was a little speechless. They were outside the third building. Why did this fellow suddenly jump out? Xia Huyo chuckled and said, I'm in class tomorrow. I knew you were coming back, so I specially waited for you. Waiting for me for what? To trade. Xia Huyo smiled and said, Suyu, did you get the blood essence? The mountain ox blood essence. How about you sell it to me? Suyu's expression changed for a moment. It seemed like there were quite a number of people who were eyeing this item. What price? Xia Huyo smiled and said, 3 merit points per drop. Get lost. 5 merit points per drop. Xia Huyo hurriedly said, 5 merit points per drop is equivalent to 10,000 stone realm blood essence. Suyu, selling it means 500 merit points. Get lost or not. Suyu could not be bothered with him and directly went upstairs. Xia Huyo was anxious. He hurriedly said, Suyu, don't be like this. How about this, 8 points per drop? Really, the price is high. Of course, if you are willing to sell it together and sell it in large quantities, I will give you a higher price. 10 points, it really can't be any more. No one wants any more. It's too expensive. There aren't many students who can afford 1,000 points. They have to rely on the support of their families. Suyu turned to look at him. He thought for a moment and asked, is the mountain-breaking bull's essence blood so valuable? It's not valuable. It's rare. Coincidentally, it's used for the foundation establishment of the Thousand June realm. In fact, most people don't care about the foundation establishment of the Thousand June realm. It's mainly used by some geniuses. Xia Huyo smiled and said, geniuses. I hope that each step is better than others. For ordinary students, even if they casually obtain some 1000 June essence blood to build their foundation, wouldn't they still be able to pass the test? However, for the top 100 bloodlines to build their foundation, their physical bodies are a little stronger, and opening their minds is a little easier. That's why geniuses are very sought after. Although the mountain breaking bull has just entered the top 100 races, the mountain breaking bull is originally a race with a strong physical body. This type of essence blood is most suitable for the 1000 June realm to build their foundation. Xia Huyo explained, this thing doesn't need to be at the 10,000 stone realm or above. The 1000 June realm doesn't need to be for non-geniuses, so it only targets specific groups of people. In addition, the 1000 June realm of the top 100 races is very rare, so it appears to be very valuable. As he said that, he smiled and said, you understand the logic. Geniuses are rich. Even if their families don't have money, there are people behind them who invest in them. Not to mention other things, just you don't have money either. Didn't your teacher invest in you? The same logic. Things that targeted geniuses were more valuable. In this world, there was no such thing as applicability. If it was useful to a genius, then it was expensive. Because they had money and they didn't have money, there were people who were willing to pay for it. This was equivalent to a luxury item in the eyes of ordinary people. I can still live without this item. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm worse off than others. Suyu nodded and didn't ask any further. Xia Huyo saw him walk upstairs again, he hurriedly followed. Suyu, are you selling it? Since you're only at Kaiyuan, it's still early for you to build your foundation. You can build your foundation even if you reach 9th stage. Why don't you sell it? It's rare to see 100 drops in one go. You can directly build your foundation. You can slowly collect some. Suyu turned his head to look at him and said somewhat angrily, it's not mine. It's teacher Bai Fang's. It's the same. Xia Huyo laughed and said, now there are people who want to buy it at a high price. Suyu, why don't you sell it to me now? I guarantee that I'll collect all of it within a year. I'll return 100 drops to you and 300 merit points to you. What do you think? Just take it as a loan to me. I will increase the interest and give it to you. Suyu's heart was tired. It seemed that many people had their eyes on this thing. This fatty was a businessman. He couldn't be bothered to argue with him. Chen Qi's words were similar to what he had said before. However, that guy wasn't doing business. He was determined to get it. There was still a gap between the two. Chapter 284, The World of Geniuses. Chapter 284, Chapter 86, The World of Geniuses. 1 year. Suyu looked at him and frowned. 1 year later, do you think I will definitely be in the Qianjun realm? Xia Huyo was stunned. Do you think I won't be in the Wuxia realm 1 year later? Xia Huyo blinked. After a while, he said embarrassedly, that. Wuxia is quite difficult. Even Lu he can get 10,000 stones a year later. Why can't I? Suyu looked at him and snorted, if you can't collect the essence blood by then, what will I do? Moreover, if I want to use this to build my foundation from the beginning, do you think I'm far from Qianjun? As he spoke, even Suyu felt that this essence blood was prepared for him. After saying that, he turned his head and thought, what if it wasn't? Suyu was a little embarrassed. If it wasn't, then he was thinking too much and making a fool of himself. Now that everyone thought so, Bai Feng wouldn't refuse to give it to him, right? Awkward. How about kissing up to him tomorrow? If he really didn't give it to him, then he had nothing to say. Bai Feng had already given him the benefits he wanted previously. Now, the essence blood wasn't necessarily given to him. Suyu was a little embarrassed. He did not want to offend a group of people and end up not getting anything. If that happened, he would have wasted all his thoughts. Xia Huyo did not think too much about it. If he did not give it to Suyu, who else would he give it to? It was just the 1000 June blood essence. To buy Feng, the mountain-breaking bull's blood essence and the fire dolphin's blood essence were the same. They were both 1000 June blood essence. The fire dolphin's blood essence might be more useful. Therefore, if he did not give it to Suyu, he would give it to other geniuses. In any case, it would not be used as ordinary blood essence. Ignoring Suyu's thoughts, Xia Huyo whispered, "Suyu, how many apertures have you opened?" You should be cultivating the Aries art. Everyone cultivates this. How many apertures have you opened now? Suyu glanced at him and smiled. 5 merit points. I'll sell it to you. This fatty also bought and sold information. Don't. Previously, you asked me so many things. Didn't I not take money? Xia Huyo smiled foolishly and said, "We're all friends. You tell me, but I won't tell anyone else." Are you sure? Cough cough. Xia Huyo whispered, "Then 5 merit points, but I can make a trade. Some people want to ask about you. Tell me the real information and I'll make the trade. You're not allowed to object. Also, make it real, or else I'll ruin my reputation." Suyu thought for a moment and said slowly, "Sure, but you have to tell me who bought my information from you." That won't do. There are requirements for customer confidentiality. Xia Huyo immediately refused. As he said that, he said seriously, "Suyu, the confidentiality of customer information is very important. If you can't do it, once you sell out your customer, then you can't do business anymore. When we do business, we value credibility the most. We can bargain, but if we secretly buy and sell the customer's information, once it gets out, our business will be ruined. Think about it. If I can tell you today, will I be able to tell others about your situation tomorrow? What cultivation technique did you buy? If I tell others, will they target you? There are some things that only the buyer and seller know. This is the reason why our Xia family has been doing business for hundreds of years." Suyu sneered, "Isn't it because of a monopoly?" "You're right." Xia Huyo said embarrassedly, "There is such a reason, but even if it's a monopoly, it's not like other big manors don't have trading companies in our great Xia manor. Why don't they go to other trading companies? It's all because of our honesty. The price may be a little high, but the key is to be reliable, don't you think so?" Suyu thought for a moment and nodded. The fatty's words gave him a sense of credibility. Of course, don't take the businessman's words seriously. Just listen to him. Then I'll sell you 10 merit points. You can sell my information to the public and guarantee that it's true, but, you have to know that I'm currently in a period of improvement. The information I give you during this period is true. In a few days, it might not be true. I understand this logic. Xia Huyo smiled and said, "Let's make a reference. Can it really be completely true? Tell me about it." 10 points is 10 points. Right now, there are quite a number of people who are interested in you. It's your teacher's fault for showing off his might today. It's worth this price. He opened 7 apertures. The normal version is just a step away from completing the first level. F***CK. Xia Huyo was shocked. He managed to open 7 apertures. This fellow was too fast. He heard that during the assessment, that genius managed to break through to the 9th level of the origin opening realm. Xia Huyo did some calculations. The assessment was at the end of June, and it was now the beginning of August. It was only a little over a month. Not only did this fellow complete the origin opening realm, he even opened 7 new apertures. On average, he managed to open 1 aperture every 5 days. No wonder. No wonder this fellow was confident that he might not be able to reach Qianjun realm in a year's time. Previously, this fellow had been self-taught and was not in the academy. Now that he was in the academy, he had sufficient resources and yuan qi. He was still lacking 101 openings in the advanced version of the Ares art, which had 108 openings. The rate of opening openings in Qianjun realm was about the same. After all, his strength had increased. While opening openings in the later stages was a little difficult, his cultivation speed would also increase as his strength increased. According to the previous speed, he has a chance of entering 10,000 stones in 500 days. Now that he has entered the academy, it might be even faster. Xia Huyo instantly made a judgment. He also understood why Su Yu was unwilling to trade the blood essence, even though he had offered a high price. Because he was really confident that he could reach 10,000 stones in a year. Moreover, he still has 2 more chances to enter the mystic realm. He will also speed up his cultivation speed. Xia Huyo's expression changed. In the next moment, he smiled and said, "Su Yu, don't sell the blood essence. Don't sell it. This thing is very rare. If you sell it now, you really might not have the chance to buy so much blood essence. 100 drops. You must have killed at least 10 mountain-breaking bulls. Where did you get so many thousand June mountain-breaking bulls for you to kill?" Chapter 285, The World of Geniuses, You Don't Understand 3. Chapter 285, Chapter 86, The World of Geniuses, You Don't Understand. The reason why Assistant Hu Wensheng can get so much is because he has many factions and connections. Your side can't do it. We don't have any connections in the heavenly battlefield, so we can't buy it at all. Even our Xia trading company can't get that much blood essence every year. Xia Huyo chuckled, "You should hurry up and build your foundation, then show off your might. I think I might have to make a lot of money later." Su Yu glanced at him and was speechless. "I'm getting stronger, you're making money, what does that mean?" Xia Huyo chuckled and waited until he went upstairs. He hurriedly said, "I'll transfer 10 merit points to you. I'm the most honest in doing business. Su Yu, if you want to buy some information about other people, you can look for me. For example, I have some information about the evildoers in this batch." There's no need. It was not like Su Yu had no money to spend. He did not need these now. He would talk about it in the future. After earning 10 merit points, he was in a good mood. Xia Huyu was indeed a rich man. Selling some information about himself and earning an early-stage 10,000 stone in the blink of an eye was quite a good deal. With this calculation, he had 120 merit points left. However, he had to buy more of the 10,000 stone-level blood essence. He had already used 2 of the 5 drops of essence blood. He needed to reserve at least 1 drop of the remaining 3 drops just in case. "Xia Huyo, buy me another batch of iron-winged birds' essence blood of the 10,000 stone realm." More. Xia Huyo was a little surprised. Why did you need so much essence blood of the 10,000 stone realm? And it was all iron-winged birds. Do you want to know? Cough cough, forget it. How much do you want? Su Yu did some calculations. He didn't need to save too much. He just needed to satisfy a month's worth of cultivation. If he used 1 drop a day, that would be 30 drops. It was just a little extravagant. Previously, he had thought of using 1 drop every 3 days. But now, he suddenly felt a little nervous. The pressure was great. Bai Feng wanted him to enter the top 10 next month. Thinking of this, Su Yu asked, "When's the next monthly exam?" "The monthly exam on the 30th of every month." Xia Huyo answered happily, "Results are released on the 1st. Those in the bottom 10 will be punished. Those who enter the bottom 10 3 times in a row will be expelled. Of course, this has nothing to do with us. The top 10 will be rewarded. You can fight for this. You're in the intermediate class. I feel that no one in the intermediate class can compete with you. The evildoers are all in the advanced class." Su Yu was stunned for a moment. It seemed like there was nothing wrong with it. The intermediate class didn't have any character. Was there anyone who could compete with him? He fell into deep thought. Bai Feng probably also forgot that he had to go to the advanced class to cultivate his character. Did he forget something when he asked him to get into the top 10 of the intermediate class? In other words, the upper class and the evildoers were almost all in the advanced class. He, Su Yu, might be the only high-tier student. Seeing Su Yu in deep thought, Xia Huyo knew what he was thinking. He added, combat power isn't too important. The intermediate class is mainly testing the basics. Only when you're in the advanced class will you be concerned about combat power. Therefore, you might not necessarily be able to get first place. However, I don't think it's a big problem for you to get into the top 10. He was afraid that Su Yu would find trouble with him if he couldn't get first place. The 9th level of the origin opening realm wasn't bad, but the proportion of the test wasn't high. I understand. Su Yu nodded and said, let's not talk about this. Buy me 30 drops of Ironwing Bird Essence blood. Xia Huyo's eyes lit up. This was a big deal. The official price is 150 merit points. We're friends, so I'll charge you 120 merit points. The price has really gone up recently. If it were before, I'd sell you 90 merit points, but I really can't do it recently. I'm going to beat you up severely. He knew that Su Yu still had 110 merit points. Adding the 10 merit points that he gave him, it was exactly 120 merit points. That was enough. Empty out Su Yu. This was how business was done. Su Yu glared at him, a black-hearted businessman. This bastard definitely calculated how many merit points he had and only quoted a price of 120 points. Otherwise, how could there be such a coincidence? 90 points, at most. Brother, I'll call you brother, I really can't buy it. Xia Huyo said with a sad face, at least earn me some travel expenses. How about this, 115 points, I really can't go any lower. Then let's talk about it again. Su Yu decided to compare the 3 houses and ask around. For example, Zhou Hui, the senior sister who just came to the academy and got to know her, 30 drops of blood essence was considered a big deal. Let's see what she said. Of course, if the price was about the same, he would definitely look for Xia Huyo. It would be more reliable. The Xia family was rich and overbearing. Senior Zhou Hui was too poor. Su Yu was always afraid that she would not be able to resist stealing his merit points. Don't use tens of millions to tempt a poor person who did not even have tens of thousands of dollars. This was not a test. This was instigating the other party to commit a crime. Brother, don't. 110 points. Really, no one has offered a lower price than me. Safety is guaranteed. It really can't be any lower. Besides, I need to rest. Su Yu ignored him and asked again. This fellow looked reliable, but in reality, he might have some evil intentions. Bang! Su Yu closed the rooms. Outside the door, Xia Huyo had a depressed look on his face. He whispered, 100 points. If anyone is offering a lower price than me, you can go buy from him. I guarantee that no one in the entire academy is offering a lower price than me. Su Yu did not reply. Xia Huyo left reluctantly. What a pity. Tonight's big deal was not done. He did not buy the mountain-breaking bull essence blood and Su Yu did not complete his purchase. He felt that he had lost 100 million. Back in his dorm, Xia Huyo took out his communication device and quickly dialed a number. He smiled and said, Brother, are you interested in Su Yu's information? The new information just came out. It's definitely something new. What? He's just a freshman. There's nothing to understand. I say, brother, geniuses change every month or even every day. Do you think the information from a few months ago can really be taken seriously? Chapter 286, The World of Geniuses You Don't Understand 4. Chapter 286, Chapter 86 The World of Geniuses You Don't Understand 4. How about this, I'll tell you the information. If you feel that it's useless, then you don't have to pay. I, Xia Huyo, am a trustworthy person. If you feel that it's useful, 10 merit points. If you feel that it's not worth it, then you can ruin my reputation. After communicating with the person on the other end of the phone for a while, Xia Huyo revealed a look of joy. He had made a profit. If he sold each person for 10 points, this information could be sold to at least 10 people. Of course, if he sold too much, it wouldn't be worth much. Those guys' information was also interlinked. No matter what, he could make a huge profit this time. Thank you, Su Yu, thank you, Bai Feng. Xia Huyo smiled and thanked him for a while. If Bai Feng hadn't flipped out today, no one in Su Yu's department would have cared. This was great. There were many people who were interested in Bai Feng and Su Yu. He couldn't buy and sell Bai Feng's information, and he was afraid of being beaten to death by Bai Feng. But for Su Yu, it was useless for him to buy Bai Feng's information, but he could still buy Su Yu's information. Xia Huyo thanked them for a while, and he calculated that he had to get closer to them. Now that Bai Feng had suddenly made a move and unleashed his powerful strength, many people in the academy were focused on them. This master and disciple pair. They would be his money tree in the future. 90 points, at most, I'll buy him a batch of blood essence at 90 points. Xia Huyo made up his mind. He would be able to make a profit from this investment in the early stages. At the same time. Nature Garden, Special Class Area. Xia Chan frowned as she opened the door. Chen Qi carefully walked in. He took a deep breath and said, Xia. Martial Uncle Xia. It was a little awkward to call her that. Xia Chan was the student of Principal Zhou and could be considered as junior sister Hu Wensheng. He had to call her senior uncle. Of course, if they were from different factions, there was no need to call her that. There was no need for that. They could just call each other by their own names. What's the matter? Xia Chan's reply was a little cold. She did not care too much about the other party's strength being stronger than hers. Senior Uncle Xia, you should know about what happened today. Su Yu took away the Shattering Mountain Ox's blood essence that belonged to me. Xia Chan frowned. That was sent out by senior brother Hu. Chen Qi gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, I know, but if Bai Feng didn't deliberately pick a fight, Master wouldn't have lost this essence blood. What do you want to talk to me about? I know that Su Yu has another chance to enter the Origin Treasure Realm. If he breaks through, he will definitely go to the Origin Secret Realm at that time. I don't have the chance to enter anymore. Martial Uncle Xia, can you help me not to give him the chance to break through Qianjun? Otherwise, he will definitely use up the essence blood. Chen Qi hurriedly said, of course, I won't let Martial Uncle Xia do all this for free. Xia Chan immediately closed the door. With a bang, she shut him outside the door. Childish. Did she lack that bit of benefit? Why should she help Chen Qi? Martial Uncle Xia, help me once, or he can enter the state of recuperation first. Once he enters the state of recuperation, I'll have a chance to get those things back. Once he enters the state of recuperation, I'll be able to go look for trouble with him. I can't let him use up those blood essences first. Chen Qi was a little anxious. Su Yu's state of recuperation. He couldn't wait for him to enter the state of recuperation immediately. In the academy, one didn't care about physical combat strength, only the strength of one's willpower. Su Yu's state of recuperation. He was also a state of recuperation, so he could openly find trouble with Su Yu. But he couldn't do it now. Therefore, he needed Su Yu to recuperate first before Qianjun. Otherwise, when Qianjun reached, this fellow would directly close the door and use up his blood essence. He would be completely helpless. Martial Uncle Xia, this is also Grandmaster's intention. Chen Qi suddenly gritted his teeth and said, Su Yu and the others have always been at odds with us. Hindering Su Yu is also Grandmaster's intention. We have to get back what we lost. Otherwise, we will make a fool of ourselves in front of the others. Before he could finish his words, inside, Xia Chan said coldly, stupid. Childish. I will wait for Su Yu to recuperate and then suppress him. Why do you need to bother yourself? If you want the mountain ox blood essence, think of a way yourself. Do you think a mediocre person like you is qualified to order me around? Get lost. Xia Chan shouted coldly, full of contempt. What a joke. Would she be ordered around by this mediocre person? What was a monster? To have the confidence to defeat everyone in the same realm and generation, that was what a monster was. If she did not even have this confidence, what kind of monster would she be? Su Yu's composure was nothing. If Su Yu could not recover his composure, then it would be really meaningless. What kind of ability was it to bully the weak with the strong? The mountain-breaking ox's blood essence to cast a body? That would be good. If it was really an ordinary blood essence to cast a body, she wouldn't have taken a fancy to it. In the next moment, Xia Chan said again, it's just right to give him the mountain-breaking ox's blood essence. You're a mediocre talent. It's the same even if you use some blood essence. Otherwise, senior brother whose good intentions will be wasted. Chen Qi almost gritted his teeth. This was too much. Without saying another word, Chen Qi turned around and left. He originally thought that Xia Chan would agree to it because they were from the same department. He even brought out Zhou Mingren, but Xia Chan actually had such an attitude. B***TCH. I'll teach you a lesson sooner or later. Chen Qi cursed in his heart. Even without you, I can still find someone else. A moment later, he knocked on someone else's door again. In the end, he was directly kicked out. Wu Lan cursed loudly, get lost. You trash, despicable person, you actually want me to use underhanded methods. I, Wu Lan, am extremely talented. Even if I look down on Su Yu, I will use my true strength to crush him. You trash, get lost. I'm so angry. Trash, as expected, trash can't be seen in public. The world of geniuses is not something a trash like you can understand. If it wasn't for the sake of teaching assistant who, I would have made you suffer today. Arrogant, domineering. Just like Xia Chan. No, even more arrogant. Wu Lan was very angry. Chen Qi was sullying her. Was she that kind of person? So what if Su Yu was in grave danger? Would she be inferior to Su Yu? In a direct confrontation, she would be able to make Su Yu cry for his parents and apologize to herself. She shouldn't have been so arrogant in front of her. With a snort, she closed the door. Wu Lan couldn't be bothered with Chen Qi, nor did she care about his anger. What right did a mediocrity have to participate in the competition of geniuses like us? Get lost. This kind of person should be expelled from the academy. Why don't you take a look at yourself in the mirror? Last year's exam, I was only given a mid-high rating, but I was given a high rating. Closing the door, Wu Lan's face was full of pride. The only people that I took a liking to were the high rating and evildoers, the high-mid, didn't deserve it. Outside the door, Chen Qi's face was full of humiliation. He really didn't expect this kind of outcome. He was expelled. A barrage of curses. Didn't they say that Su Yu had offended this woman in Nanyuan? Chen Qi was a little angry. He even wanted to slap this woman to death. This woman was even more detestable than Xia Chan. Her words were really too harsh. Xia Chan was still Qianjun after all. This woman was not even Qianjun. What right did she have to be arrogant? In the next moment, he thought of Wu Qi and that terrifying legend. Chen Qi gave up. Forget it, he did not want to argue with her. He could not afford to offend Wuxia. P.S. It will be on the shelves tomorrow afternoon. I won't be updating it tomorrow morning. I'll post a speech on the shelves at night. Everyone can take a look. In addition, I'll push a book and offer it as a sacrifice before it goes on the shelves. My Return to Life, Urban Rebirth, my favorite. If there's a chance, I'll definitely write another pure urban novel. Chapter 287, First Meeting Lu Hong Order 1. Chapter 287, Chapter 87 First Meeting Lu Hong Order 1. August 5th, the school officially opened. The academy and the teachers had all been chosen. If there were still students who felt that they hadn't finished choosing. Sorry, that meant that no teacher had taken a fancy to you. Go cultivate by yourself. Last night, the guard team had given Suyu the schedule. The first class of the new students was different from the junior high school's third class. Suyu wanted to go to the intermediate class. The intermediate class of the College of Divine Arts. When Suyu arrived, there were already many people in the large classroom. The College of Divine Arts was the largest college in the college. There were only a few more people than the Will College. After all, divine arts were too mysterious. Although cultivating willpower was fast, it wasn't as exciting as divine arts. There were a total of 2,000 students. There were at least 1,000 people from the College of Divine Arts. Among them, there were close to 600 people from the intermediate class. And these 600 students were all attending the first class in a large classroom. The classroom was very large, and there were also many people. Suyu kept a low profile. He did not run around even when he came and sat down in a corner. He looked around and very quickly, Suyu saw an acquaintance, Lu Yu. Lu Yu was also a genius from the southern element. Her willpower was above 20%, so it was not surprising that she came to the intermediate class. The other people from the southern element did not see her. They should all be in the beginner class. Those people were not even as good as Suyu. When Suyu first came to the southern Yuan from Baifeng, his willpower had only reached about 10%. Other than Lu Yu, Suyu soon saw another acquaintance that he was not familiar with. Kong Cheng. Suyu's memory was still good. One of the 8 young geniuses who went to the southern Yuan, Zhou Tianqi's gang. Including Wu Lan, 3 of the 9 were accepted. Wu Lan and Zhou Tianqi would definitely be accepted. If nothing went wrong, the last one would be Kong Cheng. Suyu still remembered that this guy scored 150 points in the culture class exam that day. He was considered one of the top students in the Southern Yuan school. Suyu looked at him. At this moment, Kong Cheng was also looking around. His eyes suddenly met with Suyu's. In the next moment, Kong Cheng's expression changed. Suyu. He was most afraid of meeting Suyu in the academy. That fellow had said some harsh words that day, and he had come to the academy to torture them to death. Zhou Tianqi was afraid of death, so he ran away and directly applied for the 9 Heavens Academy. However, he was a little reluctant to give up on the Great Xia Civilization Academy. In the end, he chose to apply for the Great Xia Civilization Academy. Moreover, he chose the Divine Literature Academy. At this moment, when he saw Suyu, he was a little flustered. However, he quickly calmed down. This was an institute. Why was he afraid of Suyu? Suyu heard that he became Baifeng's teacher. So what? There were many teaching assistants in the institute. Could it be that Baifeng would come and make things difficult for a student like him? Kong Cheng, who was originally a little flustered, gradually calmed down at this moment. He looked at Suyu and quickly turned his head away from him. The students arrived one after another and the classroom started to boil with excitement. Those that he knew and those that he did not, started to chat. Some of the ordinary dormitory rooms were all 8 people in one room. At this moment, they were much more familiar with each other. Suyu, on the other hand, seemed a little lonely. He had previously stayed in a single room. After that, he simply went to the laboratory. In the huge classroom, apart from two familiar people, he did not know anyone else. Lu Yu was chatting with a girl, so Su Yu naturally would not look for her. Even if Lu Yu did, Su Yu would not talk much. They were not close anyway. Just as he was alone, a light cough came from outside the door. The students instantly quieted down. In the next moment, a young man walked in. He had a slight smile on his face and a book in his hand. Walking to the front of the podium, the young man revealed a bright smile. "Hello, everyone. Let me introduce myself. I am the Divine Arts Academy's Onping Calendar Year 350's new students' chief instructor. To put it bluntly, this batch of new students, regardless of whether they are in junior high or senior high, are under my control. My name is Lu Hong." Boom! The classroom became a little noisy. Assistant Instructor Lu Hong. Assistant Instructor Lu Hong, ranked 14th on the TA rankings. I think so. He's so young. I didn't expect him to be our chief instructor. I heard that these genius assistant professors rarely substitute for their classes. Chief instructor. In the past, it was usually some old junior researchers, right? The students of the Academy of Divine Arts were obviously not idle these few days. They had some understanding of the situation of the Academy. At this moment, when they heard Lu Hong's name, most of them remembered who he was. And below the stage, Su Yu's expression changed slightly. Lu Hong. He had heard of this name a long time ago. Lu Hong's younger brother, Lu He, had even looked for trouble with him before. Even though he had only said a few words, Su Yu had still recorded it in his small account book. Now, the main character had come. This was Bai Feng's enemy. Clearly, he was also his enemy now. He had already acknowledged Bai Feng as his teacher. Lu Hong looked at the crowd with a smile, allowing them to discuss. When they were almost done discussing, he smiled and said, "Everyone, please be quiet for a while after you're done chatting." The audience instantly fell silent. The head instructor of the freshmen actually has nothing much to do. The main task is to be in charge of the daily assessment, monthly assessment, quarterly assessment, and other organizational work. Lu Hong smiled and said, "Of course, there are also some miscellaneous small matters, such as the student's advancement and so on. You are students from the intermediate class. If you want to enter the advanced class, you have to look for me to take the test." After saying that, Lu Hong continued, "Today is the first lesson of the semester, so it's a large class. The main purpose is to explain some of your tasks and what you need to do next, so that you won't be at a loss. Of course, it's also to understand the situation of this year's students." Lu Hong, always with a smile, looks very sunny. Chapter 288, First Meeting Lu Hong 2. Chapter 288, Chapter 87 First Meeting Lu Hong 2. This was different from what Su Yu had imagined. He imagined Lu Hong with a gloomy face. Everyone in the world owed him, shady, deep, and sinister. But at this moment, Lu Hong broke his fantasy. He looked very sunny and handsome. There were even some girls in the class who were infatuated with him. He was handsome, strong, and young. Girls were easily infatuated with such a man. Once they hooked up with Lu Hong, they didn't have to work hard. Lu Hong did not care about those gazes. He flipped open the booklet in his hand, he smiled and said, "Interesting. This year's intermediate class is a little different from the previous years. There is actually a top-rated student in our class. This was not the case in previous years. Recently, only 3 years ago, a top-rated student entered the intermediate class. Is student Su Yu here?" Lu Hong looked down and the class started to discuss softly. Su Yu's expression changed for a moment. He stood up and said, "Teacher, I am Su Yu." "Not bad, very good." Lu Hong was full of smiles, he nodded and said, I hope that you can enter the advanced class as soon as possible. The intermediate class is not suitable for you. After all, it is a top-rated class. Of course, I have no intention of looking down on the other students in the class. I am worried that everyone studying together with a top-rated student will bring some pressure on themselves." After saying that, Lu Hong pressed his hand and smiled. "Sit down. Don't be nervous." After Su Yu sat down, Lu Hong said again, "Student Su Yu, since you're in this class, then this year's intermediate class monitor will be you. You have to take responsibility and lead everyone to work hard together." Su Yu frowned slightly and raised his hand. He stood up and said, "Teacher, I don't think I'm suitable. I don't know much about the academy. Why don't we let the others?" "No, it's you." Lu Hong smiled and said, "Student Su Yu, don't shirk your responsibilities. The greater your ability, the greater your responsibility. Being the class monitor has its benefits. You will be rewarded with 3 merit points a month. Many people want this job. However, it's your fault for being top-notch. It's you. It's to prevent everyone from competing." At this moment, the expressions of many people in the class changed for a moment. Some of the students who understood the situation and were originally planning to compete for the position of class monitor were a little disappointed at this moment. Some of them couldn't help but ask, "Teacher, aren't you going to compete?" Lu Hong smiled and said, "In the past, there was definitely a competition, but there's no need for that this year. Superior class. To be honest, even in the advanced class, you are still competitive. To put it bluntly, this is the academy. The strong are respected. If he doesn't become the class monitor, none of you will feel good and won't be able to convince the masses. That's all." Lu Hong looked at Su Yu and smiled. "Student Su Yu, you must take responsibility. If you don't do well, then I'll be wrong." Su Yu's eyes were a little uneasy. What did he mean? He's giving me benefits. 3 merit points in a month. If other teachers let him be the class monitor, it wouldn't be a big deal, but if Lu Hong let him be the class monitor, he really wouldn't feel at ease. 3 merit points wasn't a small amount. Don't look at how Su Yu was spendthrift right now. However, to other students, 3 merit points could only be obtained by killing a person who was at least at the critical stage. And it happened every month. Who wouldn't want such a good thing? Are you trying to draw hatred for me? Su Yu secretly speculated, but he felt that it wasn't necessary. Was there a need to draw hatred for him? To put it bluntly, what kind of influence could the intermediate class students have on Su Yu? Lu Hong's smile became even more brilliant. He continued, "The matter of the class monitor has been decided. This time, it's very simple, and it saves everyone a lot of time. As for the specific duties of the class monitor, Student Su can go to the Divine Literature Academy's teaching department after class to consult the intermediate class's chief teacher. Next, I'll talk about everyone's curriculum arrangements, as well as some of the academy's rules and regulations." Lu Hong ignored Su Yu and introduced the situation to the students very seriously. Everyone felt that Lu Hong Laosher was very amiable, loved to smile, and was easy to talk to. Only Su Yu had been feeling uneasy. The head teacher had become his class monitor the moment he arrived. Did he not know that he had acknowledged Bai Feng as his teacher? It can't be. The 2-hour lesson ended very quickly. Some of the students were reluctant to part, as if they wanted Lu Hong to teach them more. Besides Su Yu, there were a few more students. One of the students laughed heartily and said, "Class monitor, take good care of me in the future." "Congratulations, class monitor. Superior class, amazing. Class monitor, let's get to know each other. My name is Lu Wu. I hope that you can give me some pointers in the future." Some of the students came up to him and tried to build a relationship with him. The best was the class monitor. It was not a big deal to get close to him. Su Yu managed to cope with it for a while, but he was still a little uneasy. After he left the classroom, Suyu walked towards the teaching office. He was completely confused and did not know what he needed to do as the class monitor. Behind him, someone suddenly whispered, "Suyu, congratulations." Suyu turned around and saw Lu Yu. He nodded slightly and forced a smile. "There's nothing to congratulate. I'll go to the teaching office first. I'll talk to you later." "Okay, you go ahead." Lu Yu smiled and turned around to leave. She did not say anything else. Suyu took a deep breath and walked towards the teaching office. The office of the intermediate class's chief teacher. This was the office where Suyu was mainly responsible for their teaching during the intermediate class period. He was not a researcher, but an old student at the peak of his recuperation. The old man was not young, probably not any younger than Lu Wenyan. There was an old man's nameplate on the table, Wang Ming. When Suyu knocked on the door and entered, he explained the situation. Wang Ming flipped through Suyu's student information, looked up at Suyu, and said softly, "Assistant Instructor by Feng's student." Chapter 289, First Meeting Lu Hong Order 3. Chapter 289, Chapter 87 First Meeting Lu Hong Order, yes. Assistant Teacher Lu Hong made you the class monitor? Yes. Superior class, you haven't entered the cultivation realm yet? Yes. Suyu answered them one by one. The old man frowned slightly. After a moment, he said, "Intermediate class monitor, you will be rewarded with 3 merit points a month. Do you understand?" Lu Laoshi said so. "How much you give, how much you gain, the rules of the academy." The old man said vaguely, "There is no free lunch in this world. How much you get, you have to give. If you don't give, how can I give you merit points for free?" Suyu's heart jolted. "Teacher. What are the duties of a class monitor?" "Not much." The old man looked at Suyu and said softly, "First, come to the teaching area earlier every day and be responsible for counting the number of students. Those who don't come and those who apply for leave, you have to report to me. Second, return to the dormitory later every day and arrange for the students to clean up. You can only leave after cleaning up. Third, some of the usual curriculum arrangements and communication with the teaching needs to be communicated between you and the teaching students and act as a bridge. For example, if a certain teacher asks for leave today, you need to inform the students and communicate with the other teachers to arrange for a make-up session. Fourthly, you need to resolve the disputes between the students. Sometimes, students are young and impetuous, and it's easy for disputes to arise. As the class monitor, you need to resolve these small problems so that the teaching can continue as usual. Fifthly, strictly speaking, as the class monitor, there weren't many tasks and responsibilities. But it was very trivial. At this moment, Suyu suddenly understood. He knew why Lu Hong wanted him to be the class monitor. Suyu's face was a little pale as he said in a low voice, "Teacher, does that mean that I have to attend every class?" "Yes." The old man saw that he understood. He said softly, "As the class monitor, you have to attend all the classes of the intermediate class. Arriving early and leaving late. Of course, to many people, this is an opportunity. 3 merit points aren't that easy to get, and it's still so safe and convenient." Suyu's face turned paler and paler. He had to go to the research institute, and he had to go to the auxiliary weapon forging department. It was impossible for him to have so much time to attend every class. Students could choose to take courses, and they didn't need to attend every class. But as the class monitor, he had to go all the way. If that was the case, it would delay his cultivation. He didn't have time to go to the research institute and go to the auxiliary courses. He could only find time to go at night, but at night, did Bai Feng not rest at night? Did Zhao Li not rest at night? Just to give a student of his a lesson, they waited for Suyu until night? Suyu hurriedly said, "Teacher, if I don't come, merit points will be deducted." The old man continued to speak softly. Other than that, you didn't fulfill your responsibilities. There will be some comments left behind, such as difficult to shoulder heavy responsibilities, lack of discipline, lack of rules. These will also be assessed by the institute. It will even affect some organizations that won't recruit such an irresponsible person after graduation, even if he's very strong. Teacher, Suyu hurriedly said, then can I not be the class monitor? The old man looked at him deeply and said softly, in the first class, you were named class monitor. You didn't reject it in your own class. I rejected it. Suyu was a little unwilling. He rejected it, but Lu Hong ignored him. It's too late to say this now. The old man sighed softly, this is actually a good thing. It's also an opportunity. To many people, such an opportunity is very rare. 3 merit points. You know it yourself. A superior class genius only gets 3 merit points a month, and superior class geniuses only get 1 merit point. Ordinary students don't have their own professional teachers, so they actually have a lot of free time every day. They're not busy at all, and they can't wait to be busier and build a good relationship with some instructors. Maybe they can get some benefits. So you should know that many people in the class are eager to get this opportunity, and now Assistant Instructor Lu has given it to you, at least on the surface, you should be grateful to him. The old man did not say it too thoroughly, but his tone was extremely meaningful. This was a good thing. You did not reject it back then. If you went back on your words now, that would be ungrateful. Of course, anyone with a discerning eye could see the meaning behind it. But, who would say anything? Even by phone, he had nothing to say. Letting your student be the class monitor was not to take his life. Other people would not even think of it. Did you have the right to cause trouble? Suyu gritted his teeth. He had been tricked. He had been tricked. As expected, none of these people were to be trifled with. Lu Hong had easily put a shackle on him. He did not understand it at all before and had fallen into the trap in a daze. If such a comment was left on the file, he would not be able to bear the heavy responsibility and be irresponsible. If such a comment was left behind, it would affect him for the rest of his life. For example, if he were to enter the military, once the military saw such a comment, even if he was left behind, they would not give him a heavy responsibility. With just a few simple words, perhaps Suyu would have to pay 10 times or 100 times the price to settle all of this. Lu Hong. Suyu secretly hated in his heart. Lu Hong. He was much more difficult to deal with than his younger brother Lu He. I will remember it. You are a 7th level ascendant, yet you actually set a trap for a new student of mine. Are you still human? Beast. It's fine, calm down. I won't stay in the intermediate class for too long. I'll be going to the advanced class very soon. Since it's already done, then I'll endure it. At most 3 months, I'll leave the intermediate class. If I lose my temper now, finding Lu Hong won't be of any use. It'll only make him proud and satisfied. This bastard, I'll remember you. Chapter 290, First Impressions of Lu Hong 4. Chapter 290, Chapter 87 First Impressions of Lu Hong 4. Suyu cursed again and again in his heart. What a beast! The dignified soaring 7 layers actually made things difficult for a small figure like me. Are you still human? It just so happened that this was a loss for the mute. If he ate it, he would eat it for nothing. He couldn't say anything about the bitterness. Could it be that I have to tell others that I'm very busy and have no time to be class monitor? I also don't care about those 3 merit points. Even though it's true, if I were to say it out loud, it would only provoke a wave of curses. Suppressing the anger in his heart, Suyu forced a smile. This Wang Ming's teaching shouldn't be in the same league as Lu Hong. Of course, he definitely wasn't from the multi-divine literature department. Teacher, may I ask if Assistant Lu Hong has any students? Wang Ming looked at him meaningfully. he smiled and said, yes, not only yes, there are two more. One is an old student, and the other is a new student. They are both in the advanced class. The old student among them even challenged the top 100 students before. Of course, he failed, but I feel that he is going to fail soon. And the new student is also an upper-class student. I heard that he is about to break through Tianjun. He is also a student who is almost a monster. He is very powerful. Suyu exhaled and asked again, teacher, what are their names? The old student's name is Yang Sha, and the new student's name is Lin Yao. Suyu continued, teacher, is there anything in the academy? That's the kind of mechanism, that the intermediate class challenges the advanced class students, cripples them, and kills them without being responsible for it. Wang Ming sat up straight. Oh. He had met a fierce opponent. Previously, he had sympathized with Suyu, but now, he felt that it was time for him to change his attitude. A student who was valued by Baifeng and accepted in advance was also the only upper-class student of the Southern Element for many years. How could he really be a good-for-nothing? It was said that he was Lu Wenyan's student. Oh, Lu Wenyan. Old classmates from 50 years ago. A dazzling leader-level figure. Now it seemed that they could watch more of the big show. Wang Ming's interest was piqued. He smiled and said, let's not talk about it. There really are. The top 3 students of the intermediate class in the monthly exam are qualified to challenge the students of the advanced class. If they win, they can enter the advanced class even if they haven't reached the cultivation level. This is also prepared for some genius students. It gives them the opportunity to enter the advanced class in advance. If they win the challenge, they will enter the advanced class. If they lose, they will continue to stay in the intermediate class. Suyu took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, is it a battle of physical strength or something else? They can choose to use their physical strength. They can choose to refine pills or make talismans. Of course, this is the Divine Arts Academy, and the main competition is martial strength. Teacher, what is Yang Sha's physical body realm? Yang Sha is at Tianjun 7 Dan, while Lin Yao is at Kaiyuan 9 Dan. Suyu came to a realization and asked once more, then, if I were to challenge Lin Yao, would he agree? This depends on the student's willingness. They are in the bottom 10 of the monthly test, and they don't have the right to reject your challenge. As for the others, they have the right to reject it. Lin Yao is upper tier, so there isn't much hope for him to be in the bottom 10. Suyu nodded and didn't say anything more. If he didn't accept it, how could he not accept it? The two families were like fire and water. As Lu Hong's student, if he didn't accept it, then he wasn't an upper-class student anymore. Alright, let's wait and see. Suyu gritted his teeth. There were still 25 days left in the monthly exam. On the 1st of next month, I will make Lin Yao suffer. If you don't show your power, do you really think I am a soft persimmon? If I can't deal with Lu Hong, Lu He, and Yang Sha, I won't be able to take down one of you, Lin Yao. Xia Huyo said to be ruthless after entering the academy. I didn't care at first, but now it seems that if you aren't ruthless, others will think you are a retard. Chen Qi is looking for trouble, Lu Hong is scheming against me, and Lu He is looking for trouble. Suyu took a deep breath and was a little angry. Since that's the case, don't blame me for retaliating against you. 26 days later, if I can't kill you, Lin Yao, then I'm a coward. Suyu turned around and left. Wang Ming watched him leave and smiled. He was looking forward to it. It was interesting. After this new student's first monthly exam, there would probably be a good show to watch. Suyu. Lin Yao. Baifeng. Lu Hong. Wang Ming laughed. He had been a coach for too many years. It was too boring. Let's watch the young people fight. Chapter 291, I Can't Be This Awesome. 1. Chapter 291, Chapter 88 I Can't Be This Awesome. 1. After having lunch in the cafeteria and having no classes this afternoon, Suyu went to the research institute again. He didn't see Bai Feng. He didn't know if he was there or if he went to the third underground floor. As for Xia Huyo, Suyu left him hanging. He still had the blood essence anyway, so he would go and ask him again in 2 days. Lu Hong. In the living area, Suyu leaned against the sofa. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. He was going too far. This was an adult bullying a child. He really had no class. But after he was done being angry, Suyu couldn't help but think that 3 merit points seemed fine too. If he didn't have to take on the responsibility of the class monitor, it would be very beautiful if he got 3 merit points for nothing. Is there a way to get merit points for nothing? Suyu pondered. If the chief instructor wasn't Lu Hong, there was actually a chance to build a good relationship with the instructors. If the students found a substitute, there would be someone to do the job even if they gave 1 merit point a month. In this way, he could still earn 2 merit points for nothing. It was to hire temporary workers to work. Suyu also knew this routine. Unfortunately, the chief instructor was Lu Hong. This guy was making things difficult for him. How could he let him take advantage of him? Forget it. After a month, beat that Lin Yao to death. Train hard. Suyu no longer thought about it. As the chief instructor, Lu Hong obviously would not give him the chance to exploit a loophole. Sure enough, all men who smiled brightly were not good. In the future, if I meet a man with a bright smile, I'll beat 10 to death. 9 won't be an injustice. On the second floor. In the fragment room, Suyu attacked again. He had wasted an entire morning this morning. Suyu did not have much time, nor did he waste any time. As soon as he arrived, he immediately charged in. Willpower confrontation, divine text confrontation. Compared to yesterday, Suyu felt a little more relaxed today. It was not like yesterday, where he was pressed to the ground in just a short while. Today, Suyu felt much better. He was probably angry. He was provoked by Lu Hong. I hate Lu Hong, so I vent my anger on his students. In fact, I'm the same as Qin Chi, a person who bullies the weak and fears the strong, but my target is now Lu Hong. I'll take care of them one by one. First Lin Yao, then Yang Sha, then Lu He, and finally Lu Hong. Suyu had arranged everything for them in his heart. He thought of Qin Chi again. Was this guy training hard now, preparing to take revenge on Bai Feng? Kill him first, then kill Bai Feng. If that was the case, then they were in the same boat. Don't let your imagination run wild. Cultivate. Suyu cast aside his distracting thoughts and continued to suffer the inhuman torture. Resisting willpower sounded simple, but once it exceeded the limit, it was torture. Bai Feng was not in the research center. At this moment, he was drinking tea with Suyu's enemy, Lu Hong. As he drank the tea, Bai Feng laughed and said, "Class monitor. Lu Hong, why are you thinking about these crooked ideas?" Lu Hong could not be bothered with him as he drank his tea. At the same time, he said, Hu Wensheng is in closed-door cultivation, closed-door cultivation. This time, he won't come out until he reaches Ling Yun. That side wants me to take over. I have to make some achievements. They know that I'm not your match, so they hope that I can suppress you through other channels. What do you mean? Bai Feng was unhurried and didn't panic at all. As for Suyu being the class monitor, then he would do well. There were also merit points to be earned. It was pretty good. He would also help him examine his student. How should he deal with it? I'll snipe you into becoming an official this year. Bai Feng raised his eyebrows. When he heard this, he looked up at Lu Hong. You can do it. Why not? Lu Hong smiled and said, there are 3 requirements to become an official. First, to accumulate 3,000 merit points. Second, a student has entered the top 100. Third, to be evaluated as a top student within 3 years. Lu Hong smiled and said, other than meeting the first condition, you haven't met the rest. Bai Feng smiled faintly and said, I've already been evaluated as a top student for 2 consecutive years. It shouldn't be a big problem to be evaluated as a top student this year, right? As he said that, he smiled and said, in addition, I've just accepted a new student this year. As a new student, it's not a problem for me not to enter the top 100. This isn't a hard and fast requirement. As long as Su Yu's results in the quarter exam aren't bad, it means that my teaching has been meritorious. That's right. Lu Hong also laughed and said, that's why sniping Su Yu is the first step. As for you, I can't give you a top student evaluation this year. Yo, you guys can even interfere with the evaluation team? Bai Feng teased. Lu Hong said seriously, of course not. If you find out, you'll have to bear the responsibility. However, you have to be careful. If Su Yu takes the countdown 3 times in a row, you won't be able to get to the top grade exam this year no matter what. If you don't get promoted this year, then your importance will drop a little. Of course, it doesn't matter. Teaching assistants are pretty good too. The countdown to the 3 tests, Bai Feng couldn't help but laugh. Aren't you looking down on my student too much? Lu Hong shrugged and said with a smile, that depends on my ability. Let's not talk about this. You think of a way to deal with it. If you really tell me everything, then it will be meaningless. After saying that, Lu Hong said again, on your senior brother's side, you should remind him. There will probably be a lot of trouble this year. There are quite a number of people keeping an eye on his position. I have already received the news that someone will soon snipe your senior brother and make him lose his position. Bai Feng's expression changed slightly. At this moment, he was a little cold as he said in a low voice, a full-scale attack. All these years, we have given up almost all of our benefits and only left senior brother's position. Now, you guys still want to kill us all? Lu Hong smiled and said, this has nothing to do with me. I'm just a small pawn. It's your fault for defeating Hu Wenqing previously. It's not a good thing to be in the limelight. They are worried that you guys will revive from the ashes and come back again. Chapter 292, I Can't Be This Awesome. 2. Chapter 292, Chapter 88, I Can't Be This Awesome. 2. As he said this, Lu Hong sighed, I'm afraid that even they themselves can't figure out whether they're worried about the future of the academy or their own future by exterminating all of you. Power messes with people's hearts. Lu Hong sighed, he sighed and said, they've been in charge of the academy for 50 years. Even though they're still ahead of the academy above them, in the past 50 years, they've held great power. The single divine language department has become incomparably powerful. Do you think that they've fought until now because they're worried about a repeat of the tragedy, or because they're worried about losing their position? Bai Feng snorted coldly, probably all of them. I know those people. In the past few decades, he probably felt a little sad about the tragedy that happened back then. He felt that we've harmed the entire academy, and even harmed the future development of the human civilization. But in the past 10 to 20 years, Bai Feng sneered and said, his mentality has probably changed as well. In the past, the more divine literature department, the more students they could recruit. Now, if I hadn't taken Su Yu in advance, I'm afraid I would still have gotten nothing. Even if I took in 1 or 2 students, it might have been you guys who arranged for them. Bai Feng finished his tea in one gulp, he sneered and said, it's understandable if you want to suppress our limelight, but my senior brother has been keeping a very low profile all these years. He even wants to target my senior brother. This is not suppressing the limelight, but trying to kill us all. Bai Feng stood up and exhaled. It won't be that easy. A rabbit will bite when it's anxious. Moreover, we're not rabbits yet. Lu Hong, let me give you a piece of advice. Be honest, or else you might not feel good. With that, Bai Feng left. After he left, Lu Hong continued to leisurely drink his tea. After a while, he chuckled and said, "Looks like I'm the smart one when it comes to biting people." Even if Bai Feng and the others wanted to bite him, they wouldn't bite him now. Manor Head Zhou and the others had gone a little overboard. There were only 5 people in the multi-divine literature department now. It was understandable if they wanted to suppress them and not give them the limelight, but now they wanted to pry away senior brother Bai Feng's position. This wasn't as simple as suppressing them. A moment later, Bai Feng returned to the research center. He went up to the 2nd floor and saw Suyu cultivating. When he saw that kid being suppressed on the ground and his limbs trembling, he couldn't help but laugh and sigh. Geniuses didn't come for nothing. This kid really knew how to suffer. He silently watched for more than 10 minutes. Suyu kept on persevering, but in the end, he really couldn't hold on any longer. He crawled out with tears streaming down his face. The moment he crawled out, a pair of feet appeared before his eyes. Suyu raised his head, and he suddenly felt extremely embarrassed. Enduring the pain, he hurriedly crawled up and said with a trembling voice, "Teacher. Why are you here?" "I'm here to take a look at your cultivation." Bai Feng had been trying to discourage him from being arrogant, but today. Instead, he praised, "Your tenacity isn't bad. It's a good thing to be able to endure hardships. However, there's no need to push yourself so hard. Your cultivation method is a little too cruel for you. If a student didn't work hard, the teacher would be in great pain and anger. However, if one worked too hard, it would also cause one to feel pain." Suyu, this genius, wasn't arrogant enough at all. If you were to train so hard, it would make the teacher lose face. He wouldn't even have the chance to scold you. Suyu smiled foolishly and said, "It's all right, teacher. I'm used to it. I'm used to it." Bai Feng fell into deep thought. How could he get used to it? He had entered the fragment chamber many times a day, and every time, he felt as though he was about to explode. How could he get used to it? It wasn't as though he had never experienced it before. Back then, every time he entered, it was as though his life was on the line. His teacher, Hong Tan, had taught him many lessons. If he couldn't endure hardship, how could he become someone superior? Back then, he couldn't wait to spend a few minutes less every day. But now, the student that he had accepted couldn't wait to stay in the academy all day long. Exhaling lightly, Bai Feng recalled Lu Hong's words from before. An all-out suppression was coming. The moment his teacher left, those people finally couldn't take it anymore. This was also his own fault. For no reason at all, he had instigated his teacher to leave. Now that he was in trouble, it was also his fault. If his teacher was in the academy, they wouldn't be so bold. When his teacher returned, his senior brother would really lose his position. That would be a big problem. Take a rest first. I have something to tell you. Okay. Suyu wiped the sweat off his forehead and followed Bai Feng downstairs. Downstairs. Bai Feng was silent for a while before saying, "Originally, you still had a lot of time to slowly cultivate. Of course, it's the same even now. You still have a lot of time, but, it might be harder than before." Suyu didn't quite understand what he meant. Bai Feng continued, "You have a martial uncle, which is my senior brother. He's at the 9th stage of Lingyun realm and holds a rather important position in the academy. The chief curator of the library pavilion." Suyu blinked. Was it very important? It's very important. Bai Feng knew what he was thinking and said softly, "In our department, there are many divine inscriptions, and there are many divine inscriptions. How can there be so many? To outline a divine language, you need to look at the language of will at least 10 times. This is still very little, you don't count." Bai Feng's face twitched, he coughed lightly and said, "Even if it's you, you still need to look at the language of will. You need to look at the original language of the 10,000 races before you can outline the divine language. But this requires a lot of language of will. Our department has been suppressed all these years. Our old capital has long been used up. The resources obtained by the Academy are also not much. We have no choice. We can only rely on some small means to obtain them. Your Uncle Master holds a position in the library, so he has the right to open some back doors for us. For example, if we go to the library, we can view some wills for free. Of course, this free viewing can be considered a form of stealing. Chapter 293, I Can't Be This Awesome. 3. Chapter 293, Chapter 88, I Can't Be This Awesome. Baifeng said frankly, but we can't do anything about it. A person's energy is limited. We need research, we need cultivation, we need to be busy with many, many things, we don't have enough merit points, the Academy doesn't allocate funds. Moreover, the library pavilion allowing some of the higher-ups of the Academy to view the text of will for free is an unspoken rule, and it's not something that we are doing alone. Baifeng exhaled and said, everyone is doing it, and it is actually a tacit agreement, so there is no need to have any burden. But now, or perhaps in the future, we may not have this opportunity. Last time, you said that you wanted 10 pieces of the text of will, and I said that I would think of a way. In fact, I was thinking of a way from here. But now, someone is targeting your martial uncle and wants to kill us all, not giving us a chance. Baifeng sneered, once your Uncle Master loses his position, it will be difficult for us to enter the library in the future, let alone watch the will for free. To a divine literature master, the will was the foundation. With a monopoly on the will, no matter how talented a divine literature master was, it would be useless. Suyu frowned and said, Teacher, we can't go to the library. Isn't there a public lecture at the Academy? Researchers can write the will. It's different. Baifeng waved his hand, the divine texts that divine scribes master mostly come from the cultivation techniques of the 10,000 races. Although the text of will written by humans can also help us outline the divine texts, the probability is very small. Moreover, divine scribes who are willing to teach are generally not strong, so the text of will written by them is actually very weak. For example, if I were to observe the text of will written by a soaring tier cultivator, the text of will written by him might be completely destroyed after I read it once under the resistance of his will. Baifeng sighed. However, our school values this very much. We need to master a large number of divine inscriptions. Once the source is cut off, our days will be really difficult. Teacher, even you can't earn enough merit points to satisfy your own needs? Baifeng said unhappily, of course it's no problem for me to earn money to satisfy my own cultivation. But it's not just me. There's also the investment of the research institute. 80% of the merit points we earn are invested in the research institute. Also, isn't it expensive to groom new people? He glanced at Suyu, he said even more unhappily, you're in great danger. Should I prepare the Blood Essence Foundation establishment for you? Since you're free, should I think of a way to strengthen the blood essence body forging for you? If you master the divine text, can you really rely on yourself to observe the guidance of those public class teachers time and time again? In the future, I might have to provide you with Yuan Qi fluid, blood essence, and literary soldiers, which one of them doesn't require money? Baifeng ridiculed, do you think it's a good thing to accept students? Don't you understand a loss-making deal? But I can't not accept them. If I don't accept them, the additional divine literature faculty will be finished. If the heritage is cut off, in a few decades, when the rest of us die, this faculty will truly perish. Therefore, if you become stronger in a few decades, even if you're not willing to accept students, you still have to accept them. This is a necessary factor in maintaining the existence of the branch. Without the existence of new people, this doesn't even count as a branch. It counts as a lone walker because you don't have an inheritance. Once you die, this thing might cease to exist. Su Yu scratched his head. He didn't say anything because he didn't know what he should say at this moment. Bai Feng said, I can guess what they want to do. Your uncle master has a disciple who is also a student on the top 100 list. He should start from there. This is one of them. Second, your uncle master secretly embezzled a batch of 10,000 clans and lent it to the research center. Of course, in name, he borrowed it, but in reality, he is lying in the fragment room now. Su Yu bared his teeth. So that was the case. Bai Feng exhaled and said, so, next, we have to make up for this deficit. Those 10,000 clans' original materials are worth more than 10,000 merit points. Previously, I actually prepared some things for you. The mountain-breaking ox's blood essence was obtained by accident. This doesn't count. Previously, I also prepared a batch of 1,000 June body-forging blood essence for you. Next, I will sell it off. I prepared a low-grade profound rank literary soldier for you. It will also be sold off. Including the few will writings I reserved for you, all of them will be sold off. Bai Feng looked at Su Yu, I came to find you to tell you that in order to fill the gap, next. We will be bankrupt. Apart from a laboratory, there will be nothing left. There will be no will writings, no blood essence, no merit points. Including the 5 merit points that I originally promised you for a month. It's gone. Su Yu fell silent. Bai Feng calmly said, you can leave. I know that Zhao Li wants to take you in as his student. You can choose to major in the weapon forging faculty now. He won't refuse. I didn't expect that they would suddenly attack so fiercely. In the process, quite a few things were caused by me. There's no need to implicate you. The previous tempering was no longer tempering. The other party was actually trying to steal senior brother's position. He was going to exterminate all of them. This was much more difficult than Bai Feng had imagined. If Su Yu were to stay behind, he might not just be facing Lu Hong. Lu Hong wasn't a frightening fellow. What was frightening was the series of troubles that would follow. Su Yu's mouth was slightly dry. Just as he was about to speak, Bai Feng's communication device rang. Bai Feng frowned and picked it up. After listening for a while, he said coldly, very good, the counterattack came very quickly. Senior brother, this matter was caused by me. I will think of a way to resolve it. It came really quickly, then don't blame me. Su Yu vaguely heard someone on the other side trying to dissuade Bai Feng. Very quickly, Bai Feng gritted his teeth and said, then I will go to the heavenly battlefield to look for teacher. Chapter 294, I can't possibly be so awesome. 4. Chapter 294, Chapter 88, I can't possibly be so awesome. 4. This won't do. Teacher's whereabouts are uncertain. If you go, you'll only lose another person. The conversation between the two of them was very brief. Soon, Bai Feng ended the call. Looking at Su Yu once more, Bai Feng forced a smile. Your senior sister was challenged in the top 100 rankings today. She was defeated and severely injured. She will need at least 3 months to recuperate and fall from the top 100 rankings. Su Yu frowned. Teacher, will it affect senior uncle and you? A little. Bai Feng took a deep breath, before the end of the year, if she doesn't make it to the top 100 list, your senior uncle's assessment will drop. The academy will conduct a second assessment. Once the second assessment is conducted, your senior uncle's matter will be exposed. The matter that is convenient for us, will be exposed. At that time, even if we make up for the shortfall, we will still be found out under strict investigation. Su Yu couldn't help but say, you said that everyone has this matter. At most, we will just fight it out with them. If they investigate us, we will investigate them as well. Childish. Bai Feng said in a displeased manner, the Divine Arts Academy is about to become their back garden. At a critical moment, with the permission of the principal, who will be the one to blame? The dean has the right to use a batch of wills. We don't have that right. Without your grand teacher around, you don't even have the chance to speak. Suyu scratched his ears and cheeks, feeling a little frustrated. Why was he always unlucky today? He was unlucky, his martial uncle was unlucky, and so was that eldest senior sister whom he had never met before. Teacher, then what can I do? You. Bai Feng looked at him and said with a faint smile, aren't you going to minor in the divine literature department? I like divine literature. Suyu shook his head. I like the shard room, I like the filter room, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving even if I'm beaten to death. Then you can really do something. Bai Feng narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, before the end of the year, kill up to the top 100. Challenge all the way up, seriously injure the enemy students, defeat them, and let your senior sister pick up a bargain at the back and enter the top 100 again. That's possible. Suyu was stunned. Of course not. You're not strong enough. Aren't you afraid that others will challenge you? Seriously injure you? However, we're seriously injured the enemy students. Your senior sister will take their place. The people behind won't dare to interfere in our fight at this time. They will only let us fight. That's an opportunity. Before the end of the year. Suyu did some calculations. Today was August 5th. That was less than 5 months. Less than 5 months to kill over the top 100. Can I do it? Bai Feng looked at him and smiled, are you confident? If you are, then we can take a gamble. If not, I have to go to the heavenly battlefield as soon as possible. I have to find your grandmaster and let him come back. Suyu scratched his head and could not help but say, in less than 5 months, the top 100 rankers all have at least 10,000 stone combat power, can we borrow external force? External force? Bai Feng raised his eyebrows, what external force? It's, Suyu hesitated for a moment and said, it's my blood divine script. Isn't it able to absorb blood essence? After it absorbs the blood essence, it can temporarily burst out an even stronger power. Why did it sound so familiar? What did it mean to erupt with even more powerful strength? Bai Feng felt that these words were very familiar, and the familiar him, felt his scalp go numb. What, is it called a temporary burst of powerful strength? Suyu hesitated for a moment, but this matter couldn't be concealed, unless he didn't reveal it in front of others for the rest of his life. That's right, after absorbing the blood essence, the divine script will provide me with a powerful strength, which is related to the quality of the blood essence. I will erupt with strength comparable to the blood essence realm, but of course, it has to be within my tolerance range. Bai Feng was stunned. Swallowing his saliva, Bai Feng said with some difficulty, the force that burst out is, ordinary force, or. There's a special martial technique, that kind of force. Suyu blinked his eyes. You know this too. It seemed that there was someone who knew this ability. In other words, this was not a very special ability. But it should also be very rare. Didn't you see that Bai Feng was a little nervous? Suyu thought for a moment, he nodded and said, some of them will have some special martial skills, for example, when I absorbed the ironwing bird's blood essence, I would release a tearing skill. My arm would temporarily open some acupuncture points, and suddenly, I would release a fatal strike. F***ck. Suyu was shocked. Little did he know that at this moment, Bai Feng was completely stunned. Holy shit. Holy shit. What's going on? What happened? What is he talking about? This is, the talent extraction that we've been researching for many years. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. If a divine text can do it, then why are we putting so much effort into researching this thing? It can't be, this little liar is lying to me. I don't believe it. Bai Feng was really stunned. F***ck, that's impossible, did our research leak out? Or is there really such a divine text? If there is, then what's the point of researching? Let's just outline such a divine text. Blood-written divine text. Bai Feng muttered, isn't this the outline of the will article one wrote? That's impossible. Bai Feng, can't be so awesome. I have auditory hallucinations. Chapter 295, Pass Down, Third Watchamonthlet Pass 1. Chapter 295, Chapter 89 Pass Down, Third Watchamonthlet Pass 1. Bai Feng couldn't believe what he had just seen. 50 years ago, his teacher began researching the extraction of innate skills. In other words, even before that, the fifth-generation principal had been researching the extraction of innate skills. However, even after so many years, the results were still limited. There were many innate skills that couldn't be extracted at all. In fact, the blood essence of those who were above the level of the rising sky realm couldn't be extracted at all. Countless essence blood and countless resources had been spent. Only in the past 2 years did he have some gains. But now, someone told him that he had a divine text that could absorb essence blood and unleash his innate skills. Do you think I'm an idiot? Bai Feng glared at Su Yu and gnashed his teeth. When are you going to fly? When are you going to fly? Bai Feng said angrily, I want to see your divine text. I just don't believe it. That's impossible. If he didn't fly, he wouldn't be able to see the divine text. He couldn't judge it. Only when this kid was flying would he be able to see it. Then, he said, did you lie to me just now? No. Su Yu said carefully, it's true, teacher. Why don't you give me a drop of iron-winged bird's blood essence and I'll explode it for you to see. Iron-winged bird's blood essence, does it have to be a specific type? Or is it just any type of blood essence? Bai Feng forced himself to calm down. Before I saw it, I didn't believe it to be true. Unless, you slapped my face on the spot. So far, only the iron-winged bird has been discovered. Su Yu carefully said, because I didn't absorb much blood essence either. Last time, it was the blood-word divine script that wanted to absorb blood, so I tried it. I didn't expect it to be like this, so I didn't dare to tell others. It's right not to tell others. Bai Feng calmed down and said in a deep voice, if it's true, this is very troublesome. When you're in the sky, this divine script might be targeted by others. Remember, don't tell others. No one. Including, forget it. Anyway, it's only limited to you and me for now. With that, Bai Feng said again, if you still need it in the future, just say. Just say it's the special blood essence I gave you. Then, Bai Feng stood up. I'll get some iron-winged bird blood essence. You can test it for me on the spot later. Okay. Su Yu saw how fierce he was and didn't dare to say anything more. 10 minutes later. Bai Feng returned. At this moment, Bai Feng had a straight face, as if the whole world owed him money. He threw a drop of Thousand June Realm blood essence to Su Yu and said coldly, take it and attack me. Use the talent skill in the blood essence to attack me. Su Yu did not waste any time. Lao Bai seemed to be very irritable. After consuming the blood essence, he opened the scroll. Su Yu's arm swelled up again. One by one, his acupuncture points were temporarily opened, and the tearing martial skill instantly exploded. Boom! Su Yu grabbed out with his palm and grabbed Bai Feng's arm. With a PFFT, the clothes on his arm were torn into pieces, but Bai Feng's arm was safe and sound. Bai Feng did not resist, nor did he counterattack. He allowed him to attack. At this moment, looking at the torn clothes and feeling the completely different martial skills, Bai Feng was in a daze. How could it be? It was really the iron-winged bird's innate skill. He swallowed it just like that, and then, his innate skill exploded. Why? One had to know that the blood essence that they used to explode their innate skill was all specially processed. Even though they were both blood essence, not to mention the astronomical figure that they had developed during this period, if they were to deal with a drop of special blood essence later on, they would need at least 10 drops of the same blood essence. However, Su Yu had directly unleashed it. Why? Was the blood word holy prose really that powerful? Bai Feng was in a daze, but Su Yu was competing with his arm. He had attacked more than 10 times in a row, but he still couldn't break through the defense of his arm. This made Su Yu despair. How could it be? Was Soaring Sky so strong? In the next moment, Bai Feng woke up and slapped Su Yu away for more than 10 meters, HMPH. He said, I am Soaring Sky. I have cast my body many times. Back then, I used the blood essence of the top 10 powerful clans to cast my body. If my defense was broken by you, a Kaiyuan. No, I barely managed to break through the Qianjun 6th layer's attack power, then I am truly trash. What was this kid thinking? If he could break through his physical defense at the 6th level of Qianjun, then he was no longer Bai Feng. Su Yu was very depressed. Bai Feng was also very depressed. Both master and disciple were extremely depressed at this moment. For a moment, the atmosphere was frighteningly silent. After an unknown amount of time, Bai Feng rubbed his cheeks, he took a deep breath and said, Kid, you can use the Iron Wing Bird Essence blood. As for the rest, it's also possible. Of course, your strength is still weak. You can't just randomly try to use the Essence blood. It's easy to get into trouble. Innate skill. Innate skill. Bai Feng muttered. Soon, his eyes lit up as he said, we don't have money now. It doesn't matter. When I have money, I'm going to buy countless blood essences. Try them one by one for me, and you'll unleash your innate skill. You kid. You're not allowed to leave. Damn it, if you dare to leave, you're betraying the sect. I want to clean up the sect. You have to think carefully. Bai Feng wandered around the living room, mumbling to himself. He was like a crazy demon. He was really going crazy. What was the situation with Su Yu? No, he had to help Su Yu enter the soaring tier as soon as possible. The extraction of talent skills had been going on for too many years. There hadn't been any big results, and it was even harder to use them in the sky. The human race's talent skills were even more clueless. Su Yu. This was the best experimental material. Divine runes. A special divine rune that can bear innate skills. Chapter 296, was passed on, monthly pass for the third 2. Chapter 296, Chapter 89 was passed on, monthly pass for the third 2. Then what kind of characteristics do we need? What kind of divine runes do we need? At this moment, he seemed to have understood something and muttered, we shouldn't keep staring at the blood essence research and still need to cooperate with the divine runes. This is a complementary thing. Yes, the innate skill might be transplanted onto the divine runes. The fusion of characteristics, can't the innate skill be considered a characteristic of the divine runes? Bai Feng had a sudden realization. All these years, it wasn't that he hadn't thought about this matter. The experiment had failed several times. The divine runes weren't cabbages, so how could there be so many divine runes to waste? Thus, in the end, he gave up on the connection between the divine runes and the innate skill and focused on studying the blood essence. But now, he felt that he was about to find a way. Teacher. I think I might succeed. Bai Feng muttered to himself and turned to look at Su Yu, whose scalp was tingling. He smiled. His smile was exceptionally brilliant. According to Su Yu's theory, this kind of fellow who smiled incomparably brilliantly should be beaten to death. Little Yu. Bai Feng shouted until it was extremely mushy. Su Yu had goosebumps all over his body. Cultivate well. Don't tire yourself out. Although we're poor, Master will think of a way to get resources for you, you must cultivate well. Bai Feng's smile was extremely bright. From now on, whoever bullies you, tell master that I'll beat him to death. If I can't beat him to death, I'll call my master. Your grandmaster will beat him to death. Don't be afraid. Ha ha ha. Bai Feng suddenly laughed wildly. His mood swings today were much more intense than Su Yu's. Half an hour later, Bai Feng managed to regain his composure. He looked at Su Yu again and exhaled. I just remembered something about the experiment and lost my composure. You didn't see anything that you shouldn't have, did you? Su Yu smiled bitterly and shook his head. Even if he did see it, he had to pretend not to see it. Bai Feng was about to go crazy. He was almost scared to death just now. He thought that this guy had gone crazy because of the backlash from his willpower. Such a thing had happened before. Zhou Hui had already said that such a person would kill people. Bai Feng wouldn't really go crazy, right? Should he stay away from him in the future? He kept feeling that it was very dangerous. Bai Feng bared his teeth and very quickly suppressed the urge to cut Su Yu open. He chuckled and said, "Don't be afraid, your master is fine. Su Yu, work hard in your cultivation and strive to enter the top 100 by the end of the year. Using your blood essence to unleash this move to deal with them, what kind of external force is this? This is the result of our research." Bai Feng grinned and said, "Of course, don't be too obvious. It's best if others devour the blood essence in front of you and do it secretly. If someone asks, just say that I gave it to you. It's a specially made blood essence from our multi-divine literature department." Su Yu nodded. However, strength is the foundation, and one's own cultivation realm is the foundation. It's best to soar into the sky as soon as possible. Bai Feng's smile became even brighter. When you soar into the sky, you must remember to tell teacher. Don't run around. Before you soar into the sky, don't accept any dangerous missions. If you encounter danger, run away immediately. If you can't, blow your whistle. Cough cough, if you can't, call us. Your senior uncle and I are still in the academy. If we have nothing to do, call us at any time. As he spoke, Bai Feng swiftly took out a jade pendant. This is a summoning divine talisman. If I crush it, I will sense it. I will look for you immediately. I will get you some more defensive divine talismans later. As he spoke, Bai Feng's face stiffened. He really didn't have any money. This won't do. I have to extort money from Lu Hong, or else it won't be easy for me in the future. There's also this kid, Su Yu. I have to get into the air as soon as possible. I can only watch, I don't need to. Cough cough, I can't study it. It's such a pity, it makes people envious. Taking a deep breath, Bai Feng regained his smile. You cultivate well. I won't disturb you anymore. When I get enough blood essence, you can try it out for me. Master will teach you how to use your innate skill. At this moment, Bai Feng kept calling Su Yu master, which made Su Yu's scalp tingle. Disgusting. He had goosebumps all over. After saying that, Bai Feng said, "Oh right, that class monitor position of yours, if you don't want to do it, then don't do it. It's a waste of time. If Lu Hong dares to talk nonsense, I'll go and kill him. Wasting my precious disciple's time. Now, there's no need to temper himself. I just want this kid to immediately soar into the sky." However, Su Yu shook his head and said in a deep voice, "Teacher, since I've become the class monitor, then I'll do it well. Unless, Teacher Lu Hong doesn't allow me to do it anymore, otherwise, before I enter the advanced class, I'll continue to do it." Right now, he was treating this as pressure and also as motivation. At most, he would sleep a few hours less at night. Thinking of this, Su Yu immediately said, "Teacher, I want to move to the research center to live, is that okay?" "Yes, absolutely." Bai Feng said with a smile, "It's the best. This place is safe and cultivation is also very secret. No one can know about it. Very good, I will stay here. Thank you, teacher. Then, I will go and cultivate. Being stared at by Feng, Suyu couldn't take it anymore and hurriedly ran away. It was better to cultivate. Ever since he mentioned the matter of the blood essence, Bai Feng had been staring at him as if he saw merit points. This made Suyu very uncomfortable. After Suyu disappeared before his eyes, Bai Feng took a few deep breaths before he managed to calm down. After some thought, he dialed another number. Martial uncle. You haven't given up yet. Do you really want to die? Bai Feng looked depressed and said hurriedly, No, Martial uncle, listen to me. I didn't mean that. I just wanted to ask, did you really not give anything to Suyu? Chapter 297, Pass Down, Third Watch Request a Monthlet Pass 3. Chapter 297, Chapter 89 Pass Down, Third Watch Request a Monthlet Pass. What does that mean? It means, cough cough, the divine text passed down by Grandmaster. Scram, you still dare to mention it. Lu Wenyan was furious. Bai Feng, it seems like you won't give up. Alright, I'll send someone to look for you today. Don't think that I can't do anything to you. Martial uncle, don't hang up. Listen to me. Bai Feng hurriedly said, It's true. I'm very serious. Did you give that divine rune to Suyu or not? No, give up. Unless I die, no one will give it to you. Really? Why don't you try saying more nonsense? Bai Feng was still in disbelief. He struggled and said, Martial uncle, did you really not give it to him? I'm letting someone kill you right now, are you eyeing Suyu? Bai Feng said aggrievedly, No, Uncle Master, Suyu is abnormal. This kid is very abnormal anyway. He can absorb blood to cultivate. Absorb blood to cultivate? Lu Wenyan said in surprise, didn't you outline his blood character divine script for him? Isn't it very normal to have this characteristic? Come and ask me. Bai Feng smiled bitterly. How could I not know that I was so awesome? Was he cultivating by absorbing blood? That was, hard to say. Anyway, it was very powerful. As for the matter of the innate skill, he thought about it and still did not say it out loud. If even he wanted to cut Suyu, then many people would probably want to cut Suyu. Moreover, this call might not be safe. Perhaps some bastard was listening in. Martial uncle, since Grandmaster's divine script was not passed down to Suyu, does that mean that whatever achievements he has are all his own? Of course. Lu Wenyan seemed to have understood the meaning behind the words. He was no longer irritable and calmed down. He said, Is he alright? He's very good. Bai Feng exhaled and said, He's very good. He's just a little poor. Martial uncle, I don't have any money either. Why don't? Cough cough, why don't you, cough cough, tell that person to lend us a few tens of thousands of merit points. Do you want to die? Uncle Master, we really don't have any more money. We're bankrupt. Apart from a laboratory, there's nothing else. Bai Feng felt wronged. There's really nothing else. This time, it wasn't me who ruined it. It was to save eldest senior brother. That fellow is going to be pranked. I have to fill in the holes for him. I'm going to sell all my belongings. I really won't be able to eat in the future. It's all gone. It's all gone. Lu Wenyan fell into deep thought. The next moment, he slowly said, He's being targeted. Yes. Wan or Zhou? Zhou. That fellow really needs to be taught a lesson. Lu Wenyan said unhappily, Back then, I didn't like that fellow at all. That disciple of his. What's his name? He was beaten up by me a few hundred times. I heard that he's in the mountains and seas now. None of you good-for-nothings are in the mountains and seas. You deserve to be bullied. Bai Feng was speechless. I'm still young. I'm not even 30 years old. Uncle Master, can you stop beating me up all the time? Lu Wenyan complained a few times, then he said, ignore him. If you can't, then think of a way to deal with him. You can beat up his disciples one by one. Let your senior brother beat them up one by one until they admit defeat. If he dares to interfere, I'll help you call for help. That idiot Hong Tan actually ran away at this time. You deserve to be beaten up. Uncle Master, that, can't beat him up. Bai Feng said helplessly, there are thousands of people in the Divine Literature department alone. If they beat him up one by one, then we won't be able to cultivate anymore. We won't have time to study anymore. It's your fault for being trash. You've been getting weaker and weaker all these years. Lu Wenyan showed no mercy, he said impolitely, yes, it was our fault back then. We caused the Divine Literature department to suffer a catastrophe. But didn't we all leave with nothing? The resources, the text of will, the blood essence, the secret realm, all of them were left behind. The 10,000 heavenly saints promised that he wouldn't target you anymore. Are you blaming me for being trash? The more Lu Wenyan spoke, the angrier he got. When I left, there were more than 100 people from the Divine Literature department. After 50 years, where are they? Gone. If you're not useless, who's useless? Damn it, you and your teacher are both idiots. Bai Feng's head hurt when he heard this. He said helplessly, Martial Uncle, we didn't want to, but our department is really difficult. We eat resources, we eat talent. Nonsense. If one of you and your senior brother can enter the mountains and seas, then you'll have everything. Lu Wenyan said mercilessly, if that trash Hong Tan can enter the mountains and seas, then what the F***ck would happen? If your senior brother can become a mountain and sea, they would dare to do this because they think you're all trash. You only know how to eat money and don't know how to produce. Don't you know how to reflect on yourself? If you don't show value to others, why should others help you? Lu Wenyan snorted coldly, he said unhappily, after 50 years, Hong Tan was actually stuck at the 8th level of the mountain and sea realm. It was too unexpected. Even if he wasn't above the mountain and sea realm, he should have reached the 9th level of the mountain and sea realm by now. As expected, he was the most trash back then. Something happened to a genius, and this trash became his home. As long as Zhao Mingyue, Xia Yinqi, and the others have one person, they wouldn't have fallen to such a state. Bai Feng didn't say anything. He was a little absent-minded. Sometimes, his teacher would say the same thing. As long as one of them was present, there was no need for the School of Divine Literature to fall to such a state. In that glorious era, these geniuses shone upon the human realm. A group of fellows who rose into the sky had influenced the entire human race. Chapter 298, Passed on, 3rd Watchamonthlet Pass 4. Chapter 298, Chapter 89 Passed on, 3rd Watchamonthlet Pass 4. Glorious. Unfortunately, the 5th generation head of the academy had died in battle. This glorious moment had come to an end. The loss of high-end combat strength, a group of geniuses who had yet to fully mature, had been stuck in the air for a long time, the academy could no longer endure it, and the great Xia Manor could no longer endure it. More and more geniuses were investing in the multiple divine languages. Even if the 5th generation head of the manor wasn't around, those geniuses were still around. Lu Wenyan, Zhao Mingyue, Xia Yinqi, and the others were all here. They were still at the shooting people realm, cultivating their nature and killing in the air. Everyone was looking forward to the day when they would soar into the air. Would they be able to reach the 9th level in one day, soar into the air, and battle Ling Yun, and even the mountains and seas? They looked forward to the day when they would enter the mountains and seas, and look forward to the day when one or more of them would become invincible. Becoming a king. Becoming an undefeatable king. However, all of this had come to an end in the end. Every time he thought of this, Bai Feng's blood would boil. Although he was a genius and a monster, he was still far from being comparable to the legends of that generation. At the very least, he didn't have the confidence to defeat Ling Yun now. Therefore, even though Lu Wenyan was very weak, he still respected him very much. He didn't dare to retort when he was scolded like a grandson in the southern Yuan. Thinking of this, Bai Feng choked and said, "Martial uncle, are you, really unable to be cured?" Lu Wenyan was not used to his tenderness and said unhappily, "What cure? Are you saying that I'm sick?" "No, that's not what I mean." Bai Feng was embarrassed and then sighed, "Martial uncle, why don't you throw away that divine rune? Perhaps without that divine rune's interference, you can regain your glory again." "Get lost!" Lu Wenyan shouted, "I knew you were still thinking about this divine rune. Let me tell you, I will never throw it away unless I die. This is my teacher, your grandmaster's life's work. Moreover, this is also the life's work of our generation." Lu Wenyan's tone was low. In that generation, there were 116 talents who were expelled from the department of multiple divine runes. I remember them all. Many of them died in old age, sickness, and war, only a few survived. Let me tell you, if you keep thinking about the divine runes, I won't be polite to you anymore. I didn't. Bai Feng smiled bitterly. I really didn't, and I didn't dare to. Do you think I'm you? Am I not afraid? It wasn't easy for me to cultivate to the 7th level of the soaring heaven realm, but I don't want to become a good-for-nothing. That would be too miserable. It's for the best if you don't have it. After Lu Wenyan said that, he said again, "Hold on, let's count the days as they come. We don't have any hope, there might be hope for the future generations. We can't cut off this path. Even if we have to struggle for our lives, we have to survive. We have to pass on our heritage. I don't believe that the many divine runes will completely decline in our hands." Bai Feng was speechless. After hanging up, Bai Feng rubbed his cheeks with all his strength. Again and again. "Hold on." In front of Su Yu, he said that they were villains, but in reality, our lives were getting worse and worse. Su Yu, I hope you can change some things. Devouring blood essence, unleashing his innate skill. Sketching the divine runes, just one look and he succeeded. You brat, you were born to join our multi-divine runes department. Turning his head to look upstairs, he sensed for a moment and that brat started cultivating again. Bai Feng revealed a smile. He could endure hardships, had tenacity, and also had talent. If such a person didn't succeed, then there was no justice in the world. We won't be able to achieve the glory of 50 years ago. What about you? At the same time, Nanyuan. Lu Wenyan struggled for a while before he made a call. Without waiting for the other party to speak, he quickly said, Bai Feng and the others can't hold on much longer. Help them. You're begging me again? Nonsense. Who's begging you? Helping Bai Feng and the others isn't helping me. It's up to you whether you want to help or not. I'm hanging up. With a plop, he hung up the call. Lu Wenyan let out a long sigh. This is how it's supposed to be. I didn't ask for help. You were the one who wanted to help. Yes, that's right. It's not me who's helping, it's Bai Feng and the others. Great Xia Institute of Civilization. In a large courtyard in the Heart Cultivation Pavilion, Wu Yuehua smiled as she hung up the call. If you want to die, you'll have to suffer. Sooner or later, I'll make you cry and beg me. P.S. 3 chapters in the morning, 1 chapter in the afternoon, and 1 chapter in the evening to see if I'm still alive. Chapter 299, Being a Good Class Monitor 1. Chapter 299, Chapter 90 Being a Good Class Monitor 1. Another night of hard training. The next day. August 6th. Early in the morning, Su Yu came to the normal section of the male dormitory. With a gentle smile on his face, he knocked on the door of each dormitory. "Student Hu Ming, you have a class this morning, don't forget." Hu Ming, who had just woken up, was dumbfounded. After a long while, he finally reacted and remembered who this was. Wasn't this the class monitor from yesterday? He suddenly felt overwhelmed by the favor. "Class monitor, why are you here in person? A top-notch genius. He actually came to call him to class in the morning. Did the sun rise from the west?" Suyu smiled honestly and said, "I asked yesterday." The class monitor was actually helping to remind everyone so that everyone wouldn't miss the class. As he said that, Suyu smiled again and said, "That's why I woke up earlier. I was afraid that you guys hadn't woken up yet. I saw that there was a sound coming from your side just now, so I came to knock on the door." Class monitor, this. "I'm really sorry. You don't have to call us next time. We can go by ourselves." Hu Ming hurriedly thanked him. In the dormitory, the others also got up one after another. Even those who didn't have classes hurriedly said at this time, "Class monitor, you should sleep a little longer. It's so embarrassing to come so early in the morning." "It's fine." Suyu smiled and said, "It's fine as long as you don't find me annoying. If anyone asks for leave, you can call me in advance. I'll help everyone apply for leave. In the academy, skipping classes will leave behind a bad record. You guys are busy. I'll go to the next dormitory to take a look." Suyu waved his hand and walked towards the other dormitory. He knocked on the doors one by one. He informed those who had classes. Yesterday, he had also obtained these class schedules. At this time, it was the morning class time. Many people had already woken up. Some students from the lower-level class had astonished expressions as they asked the person beside them, "Is this the intermediate class monitor?" "That's right, and he's a genius who entered the upper-level class." "Then why didn't he go to the upper-level class?" "His willpower isn't strong, but he's only at the 9th level of Kaiyuan realm. He even grasped divine runes. He's a genius from the southern Yuan. He actually called you all to class so early in the morning." The students were stunned. This class monitor, wasn't he too responsible? Suyu didn't care too much. After informing the students who had classes in the morning, he quickly said in the corridor, "Students who have classes in the afternoon, don't forget to go to class. When the time comes, I'll come and inform everyone. Don't bring the wrong books." Suyu said foolishly, "I come from a small place like Nanyuan. I have little contact with things and some things I don't understand. If everyone feels that something is wrong, you can tell me directly. It's okay." In the crowd, Lu Wu, who had tried to get close to him yesterday, hurriedly smiled and said, "Class monitor, you are too responsible. Actually, being class monitor is just to fool around and earn some merit points. There's no need for you to come over to our place all day long. You'd better get your willpower and character into the advanced class earlier." Suyu smiled and said, "It's all right, there's no delay. I don't understand a lot of things. I hope that everyone can give me more pointers in the future." Lu Wu laughed and said, "Class monitor is so humble." Everyone spoke one after another. Suyu followed the students who had classes in the morning and walked towards the teaching building. A large group of people. 600 people. There were at least 200 people who had classes this morning, and there were over 100 boys. As for the girls, Suyu did not inform them. Instead, he looked for Lu Yu and asked her to help inform them. On the way, Suyu met a large group of girls. He hurriedly said, "Hello everyone, I'm Suyu. I can't disturb everyone in the girls' dormitory. I asked my classmate Lu Yu to help. If I disturb everyone, I'll apologize to everyone here. Class monitor, you're too polite." A girl in the crowd giggled and said, "This is the first time I've heard of such a dutiful class monitor in the academy." This morning, the people in the dormitory next door were all stunned. There was even a wake-up call. That's right, class monitor. You're so talented and so humble. How are we supposed to live like this? Everyone spoke one after another enthusiastically. Geniuses were still quite a distance away from them. If geniuses were arrogant, it was only natural, and everyone couldn't be bothered with them. But if geniuses put down their pride and fought with you, at this time, you would subconsciously get close to them. You would even feel a little overwhelmed by the favor. Even Su Yu with superior grade talent was so easygoing. What right did they have to be proud? It wasn't like they were those monsters. It wasn't like those superior grade geniuses felt that Su Yu, who was superior grade, was somewhat exaggerated. Even if he was superior grade or inferior grade, he was still someone they worshipped. Su Yu had a smile on his face the entire time. I've finally lived to the point where I detest him. Lu Hong, just you wait. We'll see what happens after we survive this month. These students are too childish. Those who smile aren't good people. Don't you understand? In the crowd, Kong Cheng was a little impatient. He said in a low voice, "Are you still going?" "I'm late." Su Yu's ears were very sharp. In the next moment, he looked at Kong Cheng and said, "I'm sorry for wasting everyone's time. Kong Cheng, although we had a small misunderstanding in the Southern Yuan, I sincerely hope that the misunderstanding between us can be resolved. We are all classmates. We might even be comrades in the future." Su Yu said seriously, "I apologize for my words when I was in Nanyuan. I shouldn't have said those words and let all of you be fined. At that time, I thought that all of you were here to cause trouble, so my words were a little too extreme. I'm really sorry." Kong Cheng's face flushed red. Beside him, some of the students might know something about what had happened. Someone said unhappily, "Class monitor, why are you apologizing to him? They went to Nanyuan just to snatch your spot, who doesn't know that? Shameless thing, you still have the cheek to go against class monitor now." Chapter 300, Being a Good Class Monitor. Chapter 300, Being a Good Class Monitor 2. That's right, a mid-level talent who went to Nanyuan to fight for a spot. Serves him right. At that time, many students from the Great Xia Manor knew about the situation. These people had gone to Nanyuan to fight for Su Yu's spot. In the end, it turned out that they were really useless. Now that they heard Su Yu's apology, these people immediately started to feel indignant. The students who didn't know anything started to ask questions. When they found out what had happened, they all looked at Kong Cheng with disdain. Shameless bastard. The class monitor actually apologized to him. This kind of person deserved to be beaten to death. Kong Cheng's face flushed red. There were so many people. At this moment, he couldn't say anything. If he continued, he wouldn't be able to survive in class in the future. Su Yu hurriedly said, "Everyone, don't be like this. We came to the academy to become stronger. Learning knowledge and strengthening ourselves aren't for fighting spirit. It's almost time for class. Everyone, let's go to the classroom." A large group of people walked towards the teaching building one after another. As for Kong Cheng, he was instantly isolated by others. This fellow was shameless. He would do anything bad. Who would be willing to work with such a person? Behind them, Kong Cheng gritted his teeth. He was a little angry. What did I say? I didn't say anything. How did it end up like this? Su Yu. Su Yu, this bastard, tricked me. Kong Cheng didn't believe that Su Yu was really so easy to talk to. That day, he was so sharp-tongued. With just a few words, he had caused them to be so unlucky. How could he be so honest and honest? F***ck your grandpa. He was lying. At this moment, Kong Cheng had the feeling that everyone was drunk and he was the only one who was awake. He wanted to shout that everyone should not be fooled by him, but he knew that it would be useless. The students were not stupid. Whether Su Yu was really honest or not, they actually did not care. An upper-class student maintained respect and recognition for you. Now, you said that he was pretending. Did you want to be like Kong Cheng and be ostracized by everyone? Only if Su Yu's nose is facing you, will you be satisfied? No matter what, he's still the class monitor. In the future, you'll still have to look for him to apply for leave, so why offend Su Yu? Not far away. Wu Lan's face was blank. What was going on? Why was that guy so popular? There were hundreds of people surrounding him to attend class. She was stunned. The next moment, Wu Lan shook her head and snorted. She raised her head proudly and looked around. Very well, there was no one around. If there was no one, then there was no one. What was the big deal? I don't care. I don't care about being with mediocre people. Su Yu, how childish. With his head held high and his chest puffed out, he walked forward. As he walked, he suddenly felt a little sad. There was no one accompanying him to school. Why did Su Yu have so many people accompanying him? There were quite a few people who saw this big scene. On the upper floor of the teaching building, Lu Hong took a glance. His gaze was very good. When he saw Su Yu, he couldn't help but laugh. Interesting. Really interesting. Is he really honest, or is he pretending? The great trader seemed to be loyal. If Su Yu was unwilling, he would argue with him and reject the position of class monitor. He would still be at ease and look down on him. But now, he had silently accepted the mission. Not only that, he had also done his duty and did not mind delaying his cultivation. In an instant, he had built up an image in front of the students. He was an honest man. Lu Hong who bullied an honest man, who was he? A bad man. Lu Hong laughed and muttered, if you are pretending, you should acknowledge me as your teacher. A moment later, there was a knock on the door. Come in. Teacher. Behind him, Lin Yao entered the door with a hint of arrogance on his young face. A superior genius. The Lin family was not as big as the Wu and Hu families, but it was still a powerful family. There were Lingyun realm civilized masters and Lingyun realm fighters in the family, so their strength was not weak. Teacher, I don't want to attend the academy's basic lessons anymore. Lin Yao walked in and said, I learned them when I was at home. Lu Hong turned to look at him and said with a smile, it's good to have a solid foundation. 2 hours a day is enough. Teacher, this will delay my cultivation too much. Lin Yao frowned and said softly, Teacher, I'm in the enlightenment stage now, and my main goal is to achieve great things. I shouldn't waste my time on these basic courses. Lu Hong smiled. Are you a student or am I? It's fine if you don't compare, but if you compare, why do I feel like the guy I took in is an idiot? Su Yu has to attend classes for at least 5 to 6 hours a day. I don't see him complaining. You're wasting your cultivation just like that. Are you cultivating 24 hours a day? Lu Hong didn't get angry. He said softly and smiled, how long will it take to enter Qianjun? At most 2 months. Lin Yao was a little proud. Teacher, I'm preparing to enter the secret realm to break through. If not for that, I would have been able to break through Qianjun a long time ago. 2 months. Lu Hong nodded slightly and asked with a smile, have you prepared the blood essence for the foundation establishment? Lin Yao was dumbfounded. He had come here for this matter as well. Didn't Lu Hong prepare it for him? Lu Hong said softly, Teacher knows what you mean. Previously, I had also prepared it for the new students. In the end, a few days ago, sigh. Lu Hong sighed, the black market has been wiped out a few times. The things that teacher had people bring in have all been given to the academy. Now. Even if you asked me to look for them for a while, I still couldn't find them. Teacher, this. Lin Yao was a little anxious. Teacher, then the blood essence that I used to build my Qianjun foundation. It's fine, let's wait a little longer. Lu Hong smiled. Qianjun to Qianjun 9 Dan is sufficient to build one's foundation. I'll think of a way for you. If it really doesn't work, I'll go and apply to the principal. You are a genius, how can you delay your cultivation? If that doesn't work. Chapter 301, Being a Good Class Monitor 3. Chapter 301, Being a Good Class Monitor. As he spoke, Lu Hong said playfully, didn't Bai Feng win 100 drops of mountain ox essence blood from Hu Wensheng not long ago? Think of a way to see if you have a chance to get it from his student, Su Yu. Su Yu. Lin Yao frowned and said, that fake genius. Fake genius? That's what everyone in the class said. He only managed to enter the upper class because there was a problem with the Nanyuan examination. Otherwise, he would only be able to enter the upper class at most. Don't look down on the world. Lu Hong laughed and waved his hand. Go out first. If you don't want to attend the basic lessons, you don't have to. Cultivate well. Got it, teacher. Lin Yao left. After he left, Lu Hong frowned and muttered, trash. If it wasn't for the fact that your Lin family is rich, would you want to join my sect? So what if he was superior? He did not lack Yuan Qi fluid and read the text of will every day. Since young, he had been learning the myriad clan language. He was at the 9th level of the Yuan opening realm. In the recuperation stage, he had outlined the divine language, and he had mastered more than 30 myriad clan languages. If he still could not be superior, he could die. How could a superior class like him have the right to look down on a superior class from Nanyuan? Where did his confidence come from? Even if Nanyuan produced a superior class or inferior class, he should still look up to him. Lu Hong shook his head. It was fortunate that he did not count on these trash to deal with Bai Feng and the rest. Otherwise, he would have been screwed to death long ago, and it would have been tiring to wipe his ass. In the classroom, Su Yu listened to the class attentively. This was a new language course. It was not within the 20 languages he had mastered, but the language of the demon race in the sea area. Sea area. We usually refer to the sea area of the human realm. In fact, there is also a sea area in the heavenly battlefield called the Sea of Stars. The instructor was very old and knowledgeable. At this moment, he was speaking with confidence and confidence. The Sea of Stars is not considered famous in the human realm. Everyone usually generalizes it by the heavenly battlefield. In fact, among the higher-ups, the Sea of Stars is extremely famous. In the depths of the Sea of Stars, there is a place that is very famous. Starry Mansion. The old instructor laughed. Has anyone heard of this name? In the class, more than half of the students were at a loss. A portion of the students seemed to have heard of it, and their eyes revealed a hint of anticipation. The old instructor laughed and said, someone should have heard of it, or the parents of the family, or their own teachers have mentioned it. That is a land of stars, and it is also the gathering place of the elites of the universe. Some of you might have the opportunity to go there in the future. 3 years later, there will be 20 of the strongest elites of the Great Xia Mansion going there to fight against the elites of the universe. Some will rise, and some will fall. Soaring into the sky as the foundation, Ling Yun as the master, exploring the mysteries of the universe, it's very exciting. The old instructor was going off topic, but no one interrupted him. Among the students, someone couldn't help but ask, teacher, will there be mountains and seas going there? Usually not. The old instructor smiled and said, they are all the elites of the younger generation. Our human race is generally based on the age of 40, preferably around 30 years old. Although the age of the 10,000 races is different from ours, according to their age ratio, it is still equivalent to our 30 to 40 years old. Forget it, let's not talk about this anymore. The old instructor stopped this topic and continued the previous topic. We usually do not set foot in the sea area of the heavenly battlefield. Today, we are mainly talking about the demon race in the sea area of the human realm. The sea area of the human realm has three main areas. The east side is the rising sky sea, the west side is the falling sky sea, and the south side is the endless sea. The old instructor slowly said, and Suyu seemed to have traveled through the three great seas. For a time, he was extremely impressed by the old instructor's teaching level. What made him even more impressed was that soon, a large screen appeared in the classroom. A lifelike sea demon appeared in front of everyone's eyes. In the next moment, something that shocked Suyu even more happened. On the screen, the demon spoke. Ji li wa la. Suyu didn't quite understand what he heard, but this was the first time he felt that the academy had opened up a new world for him. Video teaching. Amazing. The old instructor smiled and said, "This is the Sea Lion clan of the Sea Area Demon clan. What I just spoke was the Sea Lion language, which is a small language, but it's quite useful. There are many Sea Lion clans in the sea area. If you have the chance to go to the sea area in the future, there's a high chance that you'll meet them. You can try to communicate with them." It was as if Suyu had entered a new world. It was his first time hearing the myriad clans speak directly. In the past, when he learned the myriad clans' language, Lu Wenyan had taught him directly, but there was no such thing. He looked around and saw that many of the students did not seem to be surprised. Suyu smiled bitterly. As expected, Nan Yuan was too outdated. With such teaching conditions, was it strange for him to master 30 or more myriad clans' language? No wonder that fool Wulan could master more than 30 languages. Suyu muttered in his heart, with such teaching conditions, I can master even 40 languages. A day of classes was spent in the midst of busyness and harvest. Suyu suddenly didn't hate Lu Hong too much. He realized that he really needed to supplement these basic knowledge. The study of small languages, the composition of divine runes, the protection of the sea of consciousness, the analysis of the languages of the myriad races. He was busy, but he had gained a lot. So the divine runes can't be fused randomly. Suyu muttered. No wonder Division Head Sun and the others had repeatedly reminded him during the previous assessment that the chaotic fusion of divine runes was prone to repulsion and could easily lead to the collapse of the divine runes. Only today did he know the principle. Because the two divine runes might have completely opposite characteristics.